This week we are welcoming in all of the spring vibes. I've got craft projects going, we're prepping our garden for new growth, and of course, cooking up some yummy meals in the kitchen. I hope you'll join me for some inspiration today, and I hope you can share in my excitement for spring. As you can see, spring is in the air around here. We're finally getting our garden prepped. All the seeds are out in the stores and all of the Easter decorations. I was excited to stop by Walmart and grab a few things this week, and I happened upon these baskets, which I thought were really cute. They're metal and wood, and I liked that because I feel like you could use them for little storage baskets maybe outside of Easter time. Thought they'd be really cute in like a little girl's room. There's several different colors, but I'm still thinking on those. I also saw their new line, or at least new to me, this line of bunnies that were at the store. And I am going to do a little project with one of those later today, so stick around for that. I don't really plan on buying any new Easter decor, but I always like to snoop around when things first come out because that's usually when you find those hidden gems before they're sold out. The one item I was looking to add to my collection this year were some faux tulips. I see people have those every year, and I want to add those to my floral collection. Unfortunately, my Walmart didn't have anything like that. I thought these were kind of cute, but the little yellow piece underneath the flower bugged me for some reason. They looked really good from above though. And there was a couple other ones, little rosettes and things that were pretty, but again, no tulips, so I may have to go online to find that. I also picked up some new embroidery floss because I have a little project going in my mind so far for Easter for the girls. Reese has this really cute cardigan I bought her last year that has embroidered bunnies on it. And so I bought Ruth another pastel cardigan, and I thought I would match the embroidery to it. So in my not so free time, little bits here and there, I am teaching myself how to hand embroider. Remember when I was a little girl, my grandma taught me how to do cross stitch, and I really enjoyed it. So for some reason that has come to light again this year that I want to learn hand embroidery. I decided to start taking some classes on Craftsy, which happens to be the sponsor of today's video. So far, I've probably only completed half of the course, and I have learned so much. In this particular class, I've learned different types of stitches. I've learned all about which needles I need, what tools I should be using, techniques, and more. And that's not the only class that I've been taking on Craftsy. There are thousands of different classes in different categories. You can learn from industry experts in so many different categories, from baking to cake decorating to sewing, crochet, and more. There's so many things to learn. And recently I watched a video about how to fill and glaze donuts from a pastry chef. There are so many hobbies that you can take to the next level by watching Craftsy. I also have to say I love their mobile app because I can mirror it to my TV. So if I get a few minutes in the evening to sit down with my hand embroidery, I can also be watching the video at the same time on my big screen. Something I really appreciate about Craftsy is that all of their instructors are experts at their craft. So I really feel like I'm learning the tips and tricks that I need to level up my skills. Whether you're looking to take your skills to the next level with Craftsy or start something completely new, I can't recommend it enough. The best thing is Craftsy is offering the first 1,000 of you who click my link or scan my QR code a premium full year membership for only $1.49. You really have nothing to lose to try out this platform and learn a new skill this year. Thank you again so much to Craftsy for sponsoring today's video. All right, I am back on the road, and this morning I am making a trip over to get my hair cut for the first time since Ruth was born. Do you think my hairdresser can do anything with that anyway? It was so long overdue, but I love how it turned out.
I really like it. It's got good color.
A morning of pampering myself was just the ticket. It just made me feel like spring to have a fresh cut and color. and ready to tackle all the things for the week. Now, I am throwing together a really quick and yummy lunch today. As spring weather hits, I get really in the mood to have salads and sandwich wraps. So this week I am throwing together a chicken Caesar wrap because that just sounded so good to me. And it's funny because I always crave this in the springtime. It reminds me of a chicken Caesar wrap that I would order when I was in the hospital having my babies. 3 of my 4 children are all born in the spring and early summer months. And for some reason, this is the meal I remember ordering all the time postpartum. So it just brings up good memories for me, I guess. And when springtime rolls around, it just sounds so good to me. Same thing will happen to me in the fall when my firstborn was born and I crave tater tot casserole because that was the first thing that we ate when we came home from the hospital. So I don't know. I guess I just tie all of these memories to food. Maybe I'm weird, but there's something about that postpartum time period right now that's inspiring this lunch. I added some cottage cheese on the side just to have a little bit of extra protein, and then I couldn't leave off the pepperoncinis. They're so good. Now, back upstairs here to my sewing room, I wanted to get started on a few projects in here this week, but I could no longer ignore the amount of ladybugs, as I call them, in our home. I think these are actually some sort of Japanese stink bug. I'm not really sure what their actual technical name is, but they're the little orange ladybugs that smell horrible. If you live in the Midwest, I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about. And I just wanted to open this up in the comments. If you have found anything that helps to rid your house of them, please let me know. I would love to share that with all of you so that we no longer have to sweep them up by the hundreds. You are always so helpful to share your tips. I really appreciate it. Now, I'm getting a little distracted here in my sewing room this morning. I've been wanting to make an ironing board cover that better matches my new sewing room space. So I just thought, why not? I was getting ready to put the ironing board away and I decided now's the time. Let's just get it done. The baby's taking a nap. So I'm laying it down here on the floor and just roughly tracing around it with enough excess to fold underneath with some baby elastic. I kept thinking I might find a cotton fabric and a really cute like vintage floral print, but the more I got to thinking about it with my wallpaper wall and the ironing board being against it or out most of the time, I thought, why not just use what I have? I have this little neutral color here in a cotton, and it's honestly almost exactly the same color as the trim I painted here in my room. So this is going to be perfect. I'm just going to do a rolled hem edge on this. It's a very rough, quick project. Not my best, so not going to be sharing any kind of tutorial with you on this one. But you know what? Sometimes done is just better than perfect. So I think ideally it would look really good if you used more of a drawstring method on the underside of your ironing board, because then it would really hold tight. Whereas my baby elastic wasn't exactly as snug as I wanted it to be. I ended up just doing a little quick hand stitch underneath and whipped it on there so that it wouldn't go anywhere. I'm not planning on taking it off. And I really like the more neutral look to this, especially after, like I said, stowing it away against the wall. It just fits so much more perfectly in my space.
The trees, they are singing.
So I actually came up here for spray paint. Okay, so an hour later, this is how distracted I get. Can I just say a big thank you to those of you watching my channel, subscribing, and just being here week after week. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you, because I do feel like you give me the permission to have these creative days. Even when I get really distracted and jump from project to project, it still feels productive and fun to share all the details with you. Ruth is finishing up her nap, so I'm gonna hop outside really quickly. Hop, that was funny, because we're painting a bunny. I am gonna add a dark metallic on top of this and then see if we can get any of that stone spray paint out of my bottle. So a viewer had a really good point for me that I should have followed, but when I had this stone finish, when you get done using it, she said to hold it upside down and spray. That way it cleans out that straw that's inside. I think that's what she meant anyway, and that makes sense because I think that's what happened to this, because I can't get it to come out. It's so clogged. I can barely hear it. I'm having just a little bit of luck, like wiggling my finger back and forth. So it's starting to come out just a little bit. I just hate to throw the thing away because it's like, there's still like half a can left. There we go. Come on, Stone, you can do it. Well, it worked until I broke the nozzle completely off, so that's as far as I got. If I had more, I think I would just cover it all in that, like really well, but I don't. So I think I'll just leave it like this, and then I'll paint over it with the white and just use a paintbrush to do what I want. If you've been hanging out around my channel for a while now, you know I have this thing about painting bunnies before Easter. I've had several craft failures and successes, so I will link to those videos in the description box if you're interested in watching more of those. I have to say though that this bunny was a really good investment because I feel like no matter what I paint it, it could always be repainted again. It's a really nice sturdy base, and so depending on what you wanted to do to it, I feel like I can just keep it forever and change it up if I need to. Trying to decide what to keep doing. I feel like it's starting to look more stone if I just water down the paint, and like maybe if I make a second trip over it, it'll look a little bit more stone-like. Either way, I think he's starting to look more expensive. I hope. So from here, since I ran out of the stone texture, I decided to water down the cream acrylic paint, and I ended up doing about 3 coats of it watered down, and it went on really easy after I decided to add the water to it. So it's a little bit streaky, but I also like that it adds a little bit of texture to it, makes it look a little bit more like it's fur. So I'm gonna add another coat on this tonight, but I'm gonna let it dry for now, and I'll show you the fully finished product in a few. Tonight I am getting started on a semi-homemade dinner. I have been craving chips and salsa, and we haven't been able to eat our canned salsa this Lent because of Dan and I's decision to give up sugar for Lent, and my canned recipe of salsa does include some refined sugar. I may have to rethink that next summer whenever we are canning our garden tomatoes, but for tonight I thought Pico de Gallo sounded amazing, so I bought some Roma tomatoes at the grocery store. If you're gonna make a Pico de Gallo, really Roma tomatoes are the best if you ask me anyway, because they are more of a meaty tomato. They're going to leave you with a little less juice than other varieties. Now to my tomatoes, I'm going to add a red onion, mostly because I am just all about the color. I do this with a regular onion sometimes too, whether I have a white, sweet, whatever you have on hand is fine, but the red onion just adds such a pretty color to this. So I'm going to toss about 3/4 of this onion in here and then keep some on the side for garnish on some other meals throughout the week. It's this time of the year that I start really craving all of those bright colors in the kitchen, and this is a colorful meal, but it's funny how making it right now, it's still a little bit more dull and drab than it will be when everything is fully in season. So I'm using a jalapeno here from our canned goods from our garden. It would be a little bit more spicy if we used a fresh jalapeno from the garden in the summertime, which I also like to do. You can also omit the jalapeno if you have maybe kids that don't like anything spicy at all. It definitely is still a good pico de gallo without it. Now, I love cilantro, so I usually tend to go a little bit heavy with that in my pico de gallo, but the word on the street is that you could sub that out for like a parsley, maybe a flat leaf parsley instead if you're not a cilantro fan, but friend to a friend, I just have to recommend the cilantro. I also recommend adding in the zest of a lime into this before you add the juice of the lime. I had the 2 of the tiniest, cutest little limes you ever did see on my grocery pickup this week, but their zest smelled so good as I was grating that in there. I wish you could smell what I'm cooking this evening because it is chef's kiss. So good. Those fresh, vibrant scents of spring. Just such a promise that we are turning the corner into a new season. Now, I always end up doing a little bit of salt and pepper with my Pico de Gallo, and I often like to add in a little bit of grated garlic if I have it, and maybe even a couple pinches of cumin. I really like that smoky flavor in there too. Now, if I'm making Pico de Gallo, I feel like I might as well just make guacamole because I'll show you. It's super simple, at least the way I do it. The only problem I had this evening is that the avocados I got on my grocery pickup were a little less than desirable. So I had to pick through. They weren't very green. They were really starting to brown. So that was kind of disappointing, but we made the best of it because I didn't want to be wasteful. And it honestly tasted just fine. It just wasn't as appealing to the eye. And I didn't have that bright green effect that I was hoping for. The reason I might as well make guacamole with the pico is because all I do is take a couple big heaping spoonfuls and add it to the smashed avocados, and voila, you have yourself some guacamole. You might as well make both. I'm going to pop those in the fridge to chill. And if no one ever shared with you that you need to smush down your wrap or whatever wrap you choose, make sure that there's no air against your avocados. That way it won't brown further. Now I am throwing together a really semi-homemade enchilada tonight. That is my favorite green sauce that I have found. I bought that one off Thrive Market. I love that brand. I'm picky about my green sauce. I want it to taste authentic like you get at a Mexican restaurant. And I have tried several brands from the grocery store, and I have to say I really like this one, especially because it has cleaner ingredients. And again, no sugar, so that's great. Into a casserole dish tonight, I am layering corn tortillas, that shredded chicken, and I just seasoned it up in the Instant Pot with salt, pepper, and cumin. Then I'm going to throw in some of my canned pinto beans that I worked on a while back, and hit it with just a little bit of this sauce in every layer, along with some Monterey Jack cheese, layering it up as I go. Now I did run a little bit short on my corn tortillas, which is totally fine. Continue to layer without them, and then we're just gonna top the whole thing off with cheese anyway. So I do use just one full jar of this, and it seems to be plenty with everything else. It's delicious, especially with the Pico de Gallo on top. My whole family enjoyed this, and it just hit the spot.